Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Winter Wolf here. King Z looking dapper on the space station over there as usual. We're going to take a look at Andy Weir's follow-up to The Martian. We're checking out Project Hail Mary. Does it live up to the hype? Let's find out. Short answer is yes, this movie's awesome. No, but seriously, we got to figure out right before we get rolling on this, dude. I don't think there's anything to spoil here. They used kind of The Thing in the marketing, right? So do we give people the spoiler warning anyway in case they were living under a rock?
Yeah. We still should give the spoiler that we are going to cover everything that is going to that happened in this movie, and so we are going to drop the spoiler warning as Winter Wolf over there is already hinting towards.
Spoilers. Okay. Jazz hands. Jazz hands means yes. There we go. Okay. You guys have been warned. I would tell you to go check out the movie, come back, play the review, comment what you thought about the movie. If you love the book, on a limb, both of us love the book, print, audio, whatever.
Yep, audio.
We're going to talk about maybe there's some comparisons there that are worth talking about, some changes in the adaptation. The policy, of course, is adaptations are difficult. I thought they did a banger job on that front. We'll get into that. 64,000 foot view. Movie's making bank. I can tell you that right now. 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, dude. What do you think of that? 95%.
95, 96.
Yeah.
You can't forget that popcorn score over there.
Yeah, dude. It's brooming money from the box office right now. What do we talk? 140 mil, I think, global, 80 domestic, largest one-day opening or something for a non-IP.
Yeah,
movie it was crazy.
The numbers had it as the biggest opening of 2026 with 80 million. I believe it pulled in this week. Yeah, 80 million it pulled in this weekend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read the international got it to like $140, $150. The budget was high though, and we have to be fair. We dunk on things all the time for the return on investment, for like the cost of budget ratios and all those things. I heard the budget was 200 to 250. If they're 150 opening weekend, that's solid, but this needs to leg out to get into the profitability.
What did you say the budget was?
I heard 200 to 250 from a couple of places.
It's 190 actually.
Okay, so that'll be 200, and what they report is always lower than what it is. So even still, so it's definitely, it'll hit profitability then at 200. It'll leg out a couple of weeks because the word of mouth of this is going to destroy.
Yeah, so the gross film roughly pulled in globally 141 million.
Yeah, cool.
So it almost hit its budget opening weekend, as a movie like this should. This would be the first blockbuster of 2026 release, even though it's not a summer movie release. It is the first blockbuster.
100%. Like I said, the word of mouth everywhere is overwhelmingly hyped and positive for this movie. I think a lot of people. When they talk about 4-quadrant films, like this movie is for everybody. It's a family film in the strictest definition of the expression. Like, it's not an animated cutesy thing that's meant to have you on your phone for 2 hours while the kids are watching the Minions be a bunch of goofs. You know what I mean? There's something there for science nerds. There's something there for people that just like light sci-fi. I'll call it light sci-fi because they don't really dive deep into the weeds and the science in this. It is a change from the book for sure, but I think it's a change necessary for film. I don't want to watch this guy's internal monologue for 40 minutes as he tries to solve, 2 or 3 of the big problems that come up. I thought they condensed those parts rather effectively.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. What I would call this is a solid movie. Intelligently done. That's what I was trying to go for. Yeah. It's very intelligently done, so everybody could follow what's happening without being cheesy, over the top, or writing third string.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's going to be indicative of the kind of comments and reviews you guys see around the world and social media, YouTube, things like that coming up. One of the interesting things that I took away from just doing a little follow-up on the movie after the fact, I was reading Hollywood Reporter right before we jumped on here, and they have an article there, and if I can find it, maybe we'll include that on Frostcast this week, because it's got the 4 big takeaways Hollywood should learn from Project Hail Mary. And one of their 4 big takeaways, I think, kind of hits on exactly what you were just saying there, is studios should get back to assuming the audience is smart.
Yes.
Not assuming that the audience is room temperature IQ or less, not assuming like the jackwads at Netflix that everybody is on their phone during the movie. And I'll tell you this, dude. I went to a 4 o'clock standard showing. I couldn't get an X Plus ticket. They sold out all 6 shows that were eligible. You know, the weekend days that I had available. And while I'm watching a movie, I don't know if you do this, but I pan around. Like I look around and see what people are doing, see when people jump at the scares. You know, I'm listening for like laugh levels at the jokes and things like that, or if people are cheering when cool stuff happens. But I'm also typically looking to see who the a-hole on their phone is in case the screen's too bright. I can start throwing some shit. You know what I mean? I saw not a single phone on.
No, I didn't see any
20
either.
saying, dude, people were into this movie and watching it. So I think that making shit direct for Netflix, maybe secondary viewing is a thing. Like they got to worry about that. So you got to repeat the plot every 15 seconds. I don't think it's necessary for movies, dude. Big screen. If you're written, if you're adapting good source material from good books, I think that draws in a different kind of crowd than the folks that might just be slumming for a popcorn movie on Netflix or on Hulu or something. Because I also looked at like the average age of people coming into this movie. It was people plus or minus 10 to me. You know what I mean? Tops. That's it. Like not a lot of young kids. No, I didn't see any groups of teens rolling through.
I had
didn't
groups.
see a whole
I had
lot
a
of
group of
littles.
teens sitting next to me. I saw a lot
Okay.
of couples. I did see there was a group of older than me, which is kind of hard to do. No, I'm just kidding. There was an older group that was in front. It looked like three couples together.
I had a lot of that too. Well, like
Yeah.
couples nights out popped into this there, couples evening out
Yeah.
because it was early when I went. But yeah, I agree.
I think there was a
Definitely.
little like it looked like they were a book club that came to see the movie.
I could
after
see that,
seeing
too.
it.
I could see that because again, it's Andy Weir. People love The Martian. They like this guy's writing style. They feel, I think when you read it, you feel safe knowing that like the numbers are vetted, that, that the science would hold up, that there's an element of the fantastical, and you need to have that or you can't have this movie. I'm sorry.
Yep.
You need that. But it feels so believable while you're there. Like everything they did, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Checks
Okay.
out.
Yep. Checks out. I'm checking right. Check my notes. Yeah. Okay. Checks out there. And I think a lot of that believability comes from, and we'll talk about plot in a minute, guys. So don't hold on. I'm just getting some housekeeping out of the way. A lot of what they did for this movie is everything we're always bitching that the we cover on streaming doesn't do right. They did most of this movie practically. Can you believe that? In terms of the set design and Rocky. Rocky. It was a damn puppet.
It was a puppet. Yep.
Amazing.
And the same guy who was doing the puppeting was his voice.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, his name is James Ortiz. He was the guy doing the puppeteering for Rocky, and he was also the voice.
I had to do it. Yeah, but it ends. The more I see stuff like this, right, the more I'm convinced it's a hill we can die on the channel, and we've fought the bloody battle, right? Practical will always be better. Like there's a reason we go back and we say things like Alien and Aliens, Jurassic Park, and all like the really banger movies from back then that blended the mix of practical, not aliens, like that's all practical. But then as you get into Jurassic Park, there's animatronics involved, and then you mop up with CGI. You touch up, you spackle. You don't just belch all this crap up on a screen. The lighting's wrong, the shadows are wrong, the depth is wrong. There's no weight to anything. I thought Ryan Gosling was in a spaceship for 2 hours and 37 minutes. I thought this man was in space. It looked as good as, and people are comparing it, and I think rightly so, to Interstellar. I thought it looked every bit as gritty, not gritty, grounded. Wrong word, but you know what I mean? Because it's space. Yeah. But I mean, like real, authentic, as something like Interstellar, where their like expressed mission in making that movie was, what if this mission happened? Like, so they went through all their trials and tribulations to make that look real. They did that here, and then they added an alien. There's your spoiler. Even though everybody's seen Rocky already.
One of the things that they talked about in a lot of their press tours was how they had Andy Weir on set as much as they could as they were doing stuff to make sure things would look more of what his vision was. Yep. Now, they did change up what the Hail Mary looked like, but I think it looked more real in this compared to some of the fan art and concept art of what the Hail Mary looked like in the book.
But see, that's fan art and concept art. So I mean, if Andy Weir gave Andy Weir's the author of the book, guys. We didn't say that earlier, if he gave his rubber stamp of approval and they say, hey, this is how kind of our show people, our creative department views the ship. If he was like, cool, who are we? Who are we to be? I don't know. It's not the same as the book. Like, no, the guy that wrote the book was like, okay, that looks pretty dope. Let's do that. Same thing with Rocky's ship. I mean, is it a 1-for-1 lift? Probably not, because the exotic nature of the craziness that Andy Weir described Rocky's ship and home environment on that ship as being, like, you have to read that section of the book like 8 times to figure it out. I thought they did a brilliant job, especially near the end of the movie where, Ryland Grace gets to see the ship.
Yeah,
get to see Rocky's dude, this ship is wild, dude. It's all harmonics. It's not built for things that see. Wild. I was like, dude, this is great. Dude, I had a moment watching this, and maybe you did. I'll ask. You remember the heist episode from Andor season 1? With the spectral effects as they're leaving? The eye, thank you. When Ryan Gosling is on the hull of this ship, when they're collecting the predator microorganism, when they're on Tau Ceti, and you get the big pink blast coming this way, I was mesmerized, dude. Could not look away, dude. It was visually astonishingly cool. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of soundtrack building in the background, music on point in that scene. Music on point often, actually.
Yeah, they did real well in this movie. This movie was put together as a masterpiece, and it really was. It paid homage to all the fans of the book. Yep. And one of the things I really liked, and even before the movie started, they paid homage to the fans. I don't know if they played at your theater, but they played it at mine. And it was an ad for Audible, but it had Ray Porter, the voice of the book, doing the ad.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. Because I remember that. I was going to bring it up to you and say, hey, Ray Porter's that guy you're always talking about, right? He's the guy.
Yeah, that's the guy.
He's the guy. Yeah.
So I was really happy that they did that. Like they made the commercial at the theater, and then they actually had Ray Porter, who was the voice of everybody in the book.
Yep. Right. The formatting of the movie worked fine. How the book is, Ryland Grace wakes up and doesn't remember what the hell is going on, and they work out a lot of that quickly, which again I think is to the movie's advantage that he doesn't spend the first third trying to figure that out, because that's the first third of the book anyway, is him finally figuring out what the hell is going on and who these other 2 people are that are on his ship and what happened to them. We don't need to spoil everything. We'll just leave that at that for folks to get into the story.
Yeah,
they did rip through that kind of quick.
I liked how it did start right, where he was waking up. They had the flashy lights, and then it asked him what is 2 + 2, and the guy's wrong. What is 2 + 2?
He falls out of bed.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So it did speed up a lot of that.
And they condensed a lot.
Yeah, they condensed the first flashback into a very long flashback instead of, I think it was broken up in 4 or 5 different flashbacks. He's trying to figure out who he is in the book.
At least.
And I think it worked better that way. Like, we didn't need to see him have breakfast with Petrova and the Petrova line and how that all started. It was quick. It was easy. It was to the point. And it got you moving on, because it tells you what the Petrova line is. I don't need 17 minutes of screen time to tell me what the Petrova line is.
That's what I mean. They move seamlessly from the big science parts through real time and flashback. And I never I read the book, but I read the book once 5 months ago. You know what I mean? So you read it twice? You listened twice? Oh, Good man. So I never felt left behind. And I feel like that to somebody that hasn't read it at all, they'd probably share that experience where they give you enough information, but they don't load you up on, because it's a one-man show in real time until Rocky shows up. They don't give you 15 minutes of Ryland Grace standing in front of a whiteboard, internal monologuing, like the advanced calculus or whatever.
I'm glad they did no internal monologue.
That's what I'm saying.
One of my big,
you said it.
Bonuses in the movie. They did no inner monologue, because it is done so cheaply to move plot. It's a cheap movie device to either do voiceover. Like this inner monologue is done by him writing on the board. That's great. Right. That's a good way to do
in 3 seconds, and then it's moved right on to something else that's going on. You know, and I feel like even when they did, because you and I talked about, is he going to tell this whole movie present day in like video logs? I'm like, nope. No, that wasn't it. That was like 3 seconds that happened near the end. He sends like he does a couple of gag reels with Rocky, and those are funny, and they you know, they lended some levity there. And then like his final mission log when he sent the Beatles home. You know what I mean, with the sample. I'm like, okay, so really this whole thing they wisely condensed everything that was not superfluous, but like all the science stuff and the stuff on Earth contained to the flashbacks. And then they neatly set that stuff aside so they could spread it in between, but they focused on the most important part of the movie. The most important part of the movie wasn't the ship, wasn't Grace, wasn't the astrophage. It's Rocky and Grace together. Yeah. That's literally the whole story, is these two people doing what they have to do to save not one world, but two, and ostensibly every world, by the way, because I thought of that after the fact. Even if they save Earth and Eridani, like, what about the other 6 trillion stars that are infected? What do you do? Like, well, the whole heat death of the universe thing just accelerated a bit, didn't it? If we lose all these other suns?
Well, not really, because it wouldn't really impact anywhere else except for the solar system where it happens. Because there is no universe heat, there's no temperature in space.
I mean, there's like a heat death situation that everybody seems to be freaked out about. But yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, that's only for the solar system though, because we depend on the solar system's heat to keep us alive and set our seasons. Because we need certain temperatures for plants.
I guess somebody else's sun wouldn't really impact us at all on a total level. Yeah, you're right.
It would have nothing to do with us.
Right. Good. So, I didn't say I was an astronaut.
But overall, I think. First off, we gotta give Ryan Gosling like his flowers in this one. Like Ryan Gosling, he is Raylan Grace.
He's the man. He's the man, dude.
He did really good. Like for him to carry the show as much as he did, but the way he portrayed it. Now, here's one of my small. I mean, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't nitpick something.
No, dude, because I don't think I have any. So this could be you. This could be you.
I think they made Raylan Grace a little dumber than he is in the book. Like they dumbed him down just a little bit, not by a lot, but they dumbed him down a little bit.
Do you think they dumbed him down, or did they just make him a bit of a goof?
They made him more of a goof, I would say. Maybe he's not as dumb, but he's more of a goof. Like when he's explaining
there's a lot of physical slapstick.
How he figured out how to multiply the astrophage, and he goes with "boom, there it is" in front of all these important people. Ryan Grace wouldn't do that from the book, so I think they made him a little more slapsticky to make it a little bit more comedy-ish.
Dude, they definitely did, because they had this dude fall down and trip over shit like a half a dozen times for sure. But I think the "whoop, there it is," and I'm glad you brought that up as a scene. Typically, that shit would annoy me, but I feel like the rest of the movie's tone is so effectively grounded in the stakes of what's going on, especially in like present day where he's on the ship, right? That when we get those flashbacks and he's starting to get a feel for the world that he's been dragged into, he still has it all like an arm's length kind of thing. Like he still thinks he gets a choice by the point of boom, there it is. He doesn't know yet, because the disaster on the ground hasn't happened. So maybe he would make a joke. I don't know. It was weird, but then they had another guy repeat it back to him later. You know, that kind of got his vibe. So it didn't stick out.
I think it was him being a little like off put by all the people in there, and all the certain people, and then all the questions were popping up around him. And I think they went a little too fast with the Chinese guy popping up with, we've mirrored his findings and we've done it too.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you do that? It's like, I haven't even told you yet.
Yeah, true. But see, this is something you and I know from the book that the movie doesn't make abundantly clear. Because again, it's one of those things that they trim for time that they don't really need. Strat, who's in charge of the entire operation, the woman that you see
in charge of the world.
She's in charge of the world, basically. Is that the UN and everybody got together and said, give this woman everything she needs to sort this shit out so we all don't die in a generation.
To eliminate decision-making processes just to save the earth.
She is singularly the most powerful human being that's ever lived in history.
Yep.
At the point of this movie, right? So in the book, they get around stuff like that because she hints at that, I've got 1,000 other molecular physicists or whatever working on this also. So here are your 3 dots, right? Because I got to parcel out what I have. So she's already
the 176 that they had.
Right.
And you killed one yesterday.
Here's 3 plus the one you killed, right? So she's already hinted at something that the book makes abundantly clear, is that she's dealing in levels of like bureaucratic redundancy to make sure that this does not fail, right? So when they get to the point where he's like, where you made the joke, I didn't even tell you that yet. It's like, no, because she's already taken all of your data, all of your info, and fucking sent it to 60 other places. And it was like, I kind of get that. That's exactly something I could see her doing, because the book portrays her as like a Sheldon Cooper-esque kind of weirdo on the spectrum genius type, a little socially awkward until that banger bar scene. We'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah, the bar scene where they try to humanize her.
It was epic, amazingly done. Great song choice for what was going on. I maybe we'll just leave that out. If that wasn't in the trailer, I don't remember. I won't ruin that for anybody. I thought that, and that's enough.
I liked how they expanded Carl's role too. Remember, Carl was just a nice army guy who helped him, but then he was like a security agent, and he became like he was actually part of him helping him build stuff. I liked that. Plus, I like the
Home Depot scene.
Yeah, he's from my show, The Bear. So
true, cool. Nice.
Did you recognize the Russian female astronaut who was supposed to go on the trip?
No,
that's the AT&T girl.
Yes, when she was sitting front row in one of the briefing scenes, I thought she looked familiar.
Yeah,
I would have guessed that. Yep, cool. I wasn't thinking that directly, but at the minute you just said she was the AT&T girl, yeah, okay, I could see that. But yeah, it's an interesting plot. We've talked 15, 20, 30 minutes without not really directly talking about the plot for people that might want to know. It's I won't say it's typical Andy Weir, because he's only written The Martian, so I mean it's similar. I don't want to call it typical, but I mean it's of a level. It takes what could be an actual scientific issue. Hypothetically, this is possible. Like the solution is as out there as you can get, but a microbe appears and proliferates in deep space across multiple solar systems and starts consuming the energy from stars. So they call it the astrophage. And if anybody with a room temp IQ can figure out, if you dim the sun, even by like 1%, it has massive ecological, catastrophic results for the rest of us.
Yep.
Crops die, climate cycles change and then crops die, winds change, tides change, starvation, death, extinction level event.
They were predicting that it would dim the sun 10% in the next 30 years.
Right. Which was enough time, as they said, to lose literally 25% of the Earth's population. And that doesn't include that was a best case scenario if everybody worked together to conserve and ration resources and figure out a new way to live, which Strat wisely points out would never be the case.
Yep.
It would legit be an extinction level event. So the whole plan of the movie is to pool all our resources, which they do, which is the biggest leap of faith in the book, really. It's more likely that we meet aliens out there than it is every world government gets together and says, here, take $8 trillion and build a near light speed vessel in a one-of-a-kind fusion reactor powered by astrophage toots. Here we go. Like that's the more believable thing.
So astrophage, the what it does is it goes to the sun, it builds up energy by pretty much eating the sun, and then it needs to reproduce once it's maximized its body weight, which I think is 3 times its body weight of energy that it can hold inside of itself.
Because it's a massive amount of energy, which they demonstrate visually for your benefit, as they use like the expulsion of like a nanogram of cells to melt like a metric ton of steel instantly.
Yeah,
it's instantly. And then bad things happen when they get the measurement wrong, and more shit than a metric ton of steel melts. We'll leave them.
But then they had the CO2 to reproduce, and then they just keep doing that, migrating back and forth. and producing. Now the problem is that it's reproducing at a rate where it's eating more of the sun than it is to survive.
Right.
And they had to find a answer for that, and there was one star left that did not have this issue. It's the only star in the galaxy that they could find that doesn't have this dimming issue. So the long shot is to send someone out there, figure out what it is, and send the results back. I didn't say they were coming back. I said send the results back.
Dude, that's a tricky situation too. Even once you get in it, because they bring that up in the book, they bring that up in the movie, where they're like, "Hey, once the mission's done, assuming you get it done, like you can like live as long as you got the supplies, or you can kill yourself. We'll send the heroin with you. Two of them were on board for the shot of heroin. But think about that. Think about this timing, right? If it's 11 years to get to Tau Ceti, it would take, assuming you figured shit out really quick, it would take 11 years to send info back. You're 9 years away from that extinction level event anyway.
Yep.
It's timing going to be tight no matter how this goes.
Yeah, timing's tight. So you got to figure it out quick.
Yep.
Now, they never really hint at how long he's in Tau Ceti as these events happen. It feels like a week based on what you're watching and listening to as well. Yep. But it's probably a lot longer than that.
I don't even really think they hit you with that in the book either. Because if you remember The Martian, like one of the things that was going on in The Martian was dude was keeping like a log. Like he was like, so-and-so's log. He had like star dates and shit. Like he's made a joke out of it. But in this, I don't even think in the book, because it's not just, it is first person from Ryland's perspective in the book. It
is, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember him keeping like a detailed log. Like,
he never
chapter openers that had.
He never relayed on how long everything took.
Yeah, but they had planned, but the Martian played things down to the minute because he knew he had to get to site. He knew he had to get to site B on Mars at a certain time because there was a storm coming, and there was the only window for pickup that it could have been. He could have got on the resupply shuttle to get home. Blah blah blah. That wasn't really the case here. It really was just like, how long is this taking? And we're just along for the ride with Ryland and Rocky as it happened until the end, until the big decision he makes, which I definitely want to talk about in a few. But as far as plots go, dude, you're hooked instantly when you sit down because they give you enough reaction of people around the world to let you know this is some serious shit. Like everybody know that there's no conjecture that there's a disaster coming. People know. You know what I mean? And I thought that the fact that it's a mild-mannered high school middle school teacher that gets drafted into being the savior of not one world but two, I like that. I like it when the little guy gets called up to the bigs. Like that's some good shit. I like that kind of writing.
So then they change things up a little bit more when they meet the alien. Like I liked how they kept the initial communication back and forth. That was on point. On how it was, and then having the tunnel built, and then how they started talking and everything like that. So it was really well done here. And then the one part they talked about in the book is that this spaceship has he said it has tables. He was like, what does this all do? Table assembly and stuff like that. And it turns into a centrifuge so he could have artificial gravity. So his measure, the science part of the ship works. The precise mechanisms he needs to do science works in gravity. It doesn't work in zero gravity.
In zero G, right.
And they even had a quick bit in the how do we do it? That talked about
gravity. Yep.
And in the book, it was a much longer conversation. I think cutting that to what it was just to get the point moving was perfect. Another good cut right there from the book to save time on screen. I mean, it's 2.5 hour long movie. I mean,
I was surprised by that.
Yeah. I didn't feel like 2.5 hours either. I was just so into it. I was loving it. I was loving it.
But that's on the science stuff. You're exactly right, though. They take all of those things. You mentioned First Contact with Rocky. That's like 3 chapters in the book as they sort out that's an impossible task to put two people that speak to put two people that speak 2 different languages to figure out a common ground to build a functional, workable language out of. Well, 2 beings that have completely different sensory perceptions, cultures, whatever. That took chapters of time, but they did condense it down here to the part where they figured out numbers quick. And then he figured out that Rocky sees through hearing. So he put the bioluminescent shit on the clock face to show him 1 through 12, and then Rocky figured that shit out, and then they came up with the
he
speaking
gave
spell.
he gave it texture, like he made big
Texture, yeah.
ones, so
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
stuck out, so it wasn't just flat on a paper.
Right.
But the part that was that centrifuge. How are they going to turn this spaceship into a centrifuge? I didn't know how that was going to work. How they did it in the movie is like, oh, that's how that they did that. So it answered some of the questions I had from the book that I couldn't imagine. So that helped me out a lot, and that's one of the things I did like about this. My only other nitpick, and it was the same one my wife had, and we'll get to that in a second when we get closer to the end.
True. Yeah, that definitely I want to talk about just the I think the vibe for this entire movie is Rylan and Rocky. And I feel like a lesser team than Lord and Miller with Andy Weir on set doing creative consultation as the author. This movie could have got over the top goofy real quick. Because you're talking about pairing a human being with an alien puppet, right? That's mostly practically done. It's wildly inhuman. Inhuman, right? They could have gone over the top with the language not working out and dropping in like, you know, innuendos and jokes and made this like over the top goofy, like Rocky wearing Ryland's underpants backwards. It never goes there.
No.
The tone of the movie is light, but it has consequence where consequences due, and very rarely, if ever, is it undermined by the Marvel joke.
Yep.
In my opinion, like it's funny. I chuckled at least a half dozen times. There's some funny shit that happens.
The roommate video was the best one.
Yeah.
Can you hear this? Yes, I can hear this.
Yes.
What did I say? You said, can I hear this?
That was some funny shit. Privacy is at a premium here. You can see through walls. He's all the way down there. That's what I mean, dude. There's funny stuff when it's supposed to be funny. But on the flip side of that, dude, when the shit hits the fan, your heart's in your throat and your stomach drops.
Yeah.
Like when the hull breach happens very late in the movie and Rylan goes face first into the control panel and he's out, they wisely try to show you Rocky's next move. It's very aptly done. They hit you with a blur effect, but you know Rocky's shouldering his way out of his ball. Because you know what he's going to do.
His room. Remember, they built the room for him.
Was he in the room with that? He was in one of his zones, but they show him throwing himself at the wall. And like, oh, dude, but if he does that, he's in that room because he can't live in Ryland's atmosphere and vice versa. If he comes out, he's going to die.
Yeah, because his atmosphere is more ammonia, it's more pressure, and it's a lot hotter.
A lot hotter. But again, you're seeing the blur. And right as he breaks out, it fades out for a second, and then you see the tentacle do the thing with the controls, and then you're like, well, now what? What do you do? And what does he do? He fucking sacks up because Rocky's a bad mother. You know the rest.
Yeah. Now, one of the things they differed in the book is that when Ryland comes to, he sees Rocky out of his environment and moves him back into his environment.
He returns the favor.
In the movie, he's already back in his environment, but he's in his hibernation sleep mode.
Yeah. And then again, it's the nice modification there is that Ryland basically then just goes to sleep next to the life support pod thing because that's an interesting feature to Eridanian biology they talk about in the book and in the movie as well, the sleeping thing. But the vibe between these two, are these two the best like buddy duo we've seen in TV or movies in like however long? Like it's dude, they're better than Mando and Grogu. You know why? They both can talk.
Yeah.
Hello. There's that.
My two favorite ones was right after that. The hug scene that they had.
The first hug scene was great.
Yeah. He's like, how long before? He's like, right before it comes outward. How do you know? You just know. I think we're there.
Is it now?
Is it now?
That's what I mean. It's Ryan Gosling killing it. The dude's funny. Dude, you want to talk about killing it, dude? The part where he goes through the speech of, I've made my peace. I know I can't go back. And Rocky's like, no. You can't die. Grace is a friend. Grace can't die. I'll give you enough fuel. It's just going to make my trip home longer. Ryan Gosling turns the waterworks on in a span of 3 seconds and does like a quiet sobbing breakdown. And he's like, but you said you made your peace. I made all that up. That's all bullshit. That's exactly what he would say. You know what I mean? Like it works. If he doesn't at least catch a nom for this, it's a snub. Sorry,
Yeah.
it just is. He was
Ryan,
fantastic.
I think Ryan Gosling's
He's good.
overlooked because
Yep.
he's a good-looking man. He's a
Yep.
good-looking actor.
Too pretty to be talented.
Yeah, kind of like what Brad Pitt had to face when Brad Pitt puts on some banger performances.
True. But yeah, the banger performances from our two leads here for sure. I think that
My other favorite part was
go ahead.
Them two together was when they were picking Rocky's voice.
Oh yeah, nope, that's not it. They get to the phone sexy operator
They tried to look at that one where they both looked at each other and they both go like this. Nope. And there's like, how about Meryl Streep? It's like, man, she could do anything. She
could do anything. That's what I mean, dude. Funny. You can make that joke because nobody died 15 seconds prior and is still bleeding out. That's a Marvel move. You know what I'm saying? They can have their fun. And this movie had fun the whole way through, but always safely spaced away from the important stuff. Like there wasn't a joke to be made while we were waiting to see if Rocky survives. There was no humor there. You know what I mean? Not at all. I thought that largely, not even largely, like entirely, let me retract and rephrase. So they hit the core of that movie, and that was the core of the movie was them two. It wasn't about saving the world. It wasn't about the technology. It was about these two people having to work together. No sky lasers, no who can punch the bad guy the hardest, just two brilliant people having to work together to solve a galaxy killing
problem. Using their skills that they already talked about their skill set, because Rocky's an engineer. And he said that he's like, he could build almost anything out of the Xenonite. Yeah. So them two working together, using their skills, not all of a sudden one of them's a nuclear physicist and knows how to mix two chemicals that can kill astrophage. No, they use their two skills and they put their heads together and they actually come up with an answer. And one of the things that they figure out is that they find the Petrova line in the Intiseti system, which it has one, which, they do have it here. So they go to the planet where it's supposed to go to reproduce. They grab the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is like so alive. Now in our solar system, it's going to Venus, because Venus is, I think its atmosphere is like 89% CO2. So that's where it's going, because it finds the spectrum light that CO2 puts off. Right. So that's how it sees where to go. So they go to this planet and they find out that the atmosphere is alive. So there's life on this planet. It might not be like our life, but amoebas and single cell organisms is life.
So simple structures. Yeah.
So then they want to know why astrophage isn't at a all-time high going one way. It's even. And this is one of the things that we talked about in this world. There's a story about Yellowstone National Park where they removed all the wolves and everything like that, and they made it so the animals can live in harmony. But what they found out is that the land started to die because of, there was overeating, there was not enough resources, and the creatures it just became really bad. So they reintroduced wolves, a natural predator. And not only did the land come back to the way it was supposed to be, it actually turned a river because of the beavers that came back and built a dam, and it changed the flow of a river. Sometimes humans mess everything up. There's a natural cycle to life that we just tend to mess up somehow. So that's
what like what you're saying is life finds a way.
Life finds a way. So what they found was a natural predator of astrophage, and there's our answer. That's how we're going to solve everything. But then it makes another challenge,
which is textbook Andy Weir, because there's always an escalating challenge that gets resolved, but then it's not A to B to C, it's if then, which is exactly how good fiction's supposed to work, because they solve each of their problems, and along the way Ryland Grace becomes a bit of a badass. By that final spacewalk where he's out on the hull collecting the Predator container device thing, like my dude basically free balls his way through space almost without a life at one point to catch the container as they almost lose it. It's a pretty badass move. So he definitely he puts his big boy pants on and sacks up, and in a lot of ways, which is kind of cool, But that takes me to kind of the last thing, because I'm stuck on this Rylan Rocky thing. Because I picked my tagline, you picked obviously the funny one, "Fist my bump," which is hilarious. And people are going to be saying that for a minute, dude. I like Only Us because they had that connective scene where they both realize they're the last of their crew, and Ryan Gosling's setup line of dialogue is "It's only me," and then Rocky puts on the speaker thing, "No, it's only us. Like, I got you, right?" That works for me bigly. I just wanted to point out that little touch of that there, because at the end of the day, it's their movie, and it's never more obviously their movie than the part where Rylan realizes that Rocky's ship is going to conspire against him because of what it's made of, with the solution that they have to their problem, to the astrophage problem.
So right? They made astrophage, and then they breeded it so it could live in nitrogen.
They made Talmeba.
Yeah, Talmeba.
They made Talmeba was the solution. That's the super astrophage predator.
Yep. So they had to, because there's nitrogen in the Venus atmosphere, right, as well as there's nitrogen in their Iridium, where they had to go for Rocky's planet. So, and he said as soon as he introduced nitrogen to their living circle, they automatically died. So he had to build nitrogen resistant Talmeba.
The problem is the amoeba evolved rapidly to escape containment.
Which is through the xenonite that they had.
Which on Rylan's ship is not a problem. On Rocky's ship, it's a big ass problem.
Yep.
And once Ryan Gosling's character figures that out, he has to make a very difficult choice.
Finish going home.
Not difficult enough. Do you go home,
or do you save your friend?
Or do you save your friend and his people?
Right? Because the main issue is that he caught it early enough where it only ate like one of his tanks, but he still had plenty of fuel to get back home.
Right. He can only make one more jump. That's not even a jump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
only
get to one place.
He has 11-year shot to go back. But he sees how it escaped, which was through the xenonite, and Rocky's whole ship is made through xenonite. So there's no way they can contain the spill in Rocky's ship, and he's going to pretty much starve to death and just die out there.
Especially when slowly and alone. Yeah, slowly and alone. Right. So Gosling makes the pimp decision to do hero shit, which I love, because this comes on the heels of scenes that establish that he didn't volunteer for this mission. They had an accident that kind of thrust him to the forefront because they didn't have time to train an astronaut replacement. So he basically gets drugged and dumped onto the ship and fucking told to fuck off and go die, but save the world first. But he's got that great line on the deck of the aircraft carrier where he's commending Commander Yao for being brave. Right. And he said, I don't think I have the brave gene. And Yao's like, there's no brave gene. You just got to find somebody that's worth being brave for. Rylan Grace didn't have that until he met Rocky. And it very easily convinced him that the right thing to do was to go save his friend, to be brave and not go home and save your friend. And that's the crux of the movie.
And this goes to my second nitpick. When he gets there to save Rocky, one line from the book should have been in there. And it wasn't. It was it was silent movie at that. Yeah. Just the music, them getting together and just being happy. But they should have had the line where Rocky goes, "Grace comes back for Rocky."
Yes. Okay. I had forgotten about that, but yes, because I remember reading that. I remember when I read that, gotten choked up for sure. And all they gave us was the "I'm here, buddy."
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been pretty fucking clutch. But I think they went the other way artistically. They, like you said, they put the sweeping score in the background.
Yeah.
And got the bump on the glass and shit. They went that way. But I could have stood that. I would have been okay with that. That was a great line. That was an absolutely banger line, because by that point, if I remember the book right, it's already taken enough time for, because again, things happen in the movie instantly, but I think by the time in the book, it had taken Grace days to catch back up in that direction. So Rocky was already in the middle of, I think, being sick or being wounded or being whatever.
No, he was stranded, and he was trying to figure everything out still. So he was.
Maybe I might have misremembered that.
And he might have been getting, caught by some of the radiation poisoning, because
which is what killed his crew, right? Which is what killed his crew, right? So no, I think that
they didn't know what radiation was because they never had to deal with it.
Yep. Which interesting that he did just enough world building of how the Eridanians would be to not oversell or make you want to think that like you wanted to sit there and nitpick anything. Like the creature design was great. The planet design was fine when they got there, because that's nice. I was hoping they had that. I didn't want that to be like a 2-second post stinger scene. That's the end of the book. That should be the end of the movie.
You know, and it really was.
That was good shit.
It was
good. I like that.
So that is Project Hail Mary in our talking review / recap of the movie. We do highly recommend it. I would give this a easy 9 out of 10. It's near perfect. It is the best, one of the best adaptations I've ever seen, hands down. Probably number 1 for adaptations. Yeah, so I would highly recommend it. Yes, the book is better, but the movie lives up to the hype. So
the book's better if you need more of the science, but dude, I think you're exactly right. It absolutely lives up. It's a rare example where something lived up to the hype. Rare example.
Especially in today's modern cinema area. So I would say go watch it. And while you're watching it and you agree with us, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button down there. Or you don't do the thumbs down, but it makes it funny in the movie. But thumbs up. Hit that subscribe if you liked what we say and you want to see more of what we say. Hit that notification bell so you never miss what we're dropping. And I will leave it over to the Winter Wolf to sign off.
We don't sign off here. We just give people the